Good evening and welcome everybody to Tech Talk Friday. Yes, we're back and I'm back again. Sorry about last week. I know I was promoting that's going to be on, but I couldn't make it. A little bit of an emergency, but I heard it was a great discussion and show, and hope we're going to do that again today. And first off, before anything, just a plug. Tech Talk Friday is brought to you by Nicole. It's our learning experience platform. If you want to find out more, go on to nicole.app. It's app built for learners. So every one of you out there who want to be learners, which is, I believe, each and every one of us, go on to nicole.app, get your Nicole subscription, and start your journey towards accelerating your skills, your growth, career, and also future. And speaking of growth, today's theme looks like it's going to be a lot about growth. And the two gentlemen we're going to talk about is actually going to talk about how they are moving from where they are to the next steps. So that's going to be the theme for today. And before we move forward, I need to bring on, and he claims that I'm not eco-host anymore because I don't want to break a leg with him, but I want to keep my leg. I still want to be the host, eco-host, and calling on the eco-host, Mr. Karamjit Singh. Come on.
Hey, bro, how's it going?
I'm good.
Good,
I still don't want to break my leg. I still want to keep my leg.
We'll grow. We'll help grow a spine on you. We'll get next. We get a stem cell CO in one day, and then she'll send a complimentary or he a complimentary vial for you. I'll help you grow a backbone, man.
It's okay. I'll keep this seat, which is so-called ergonomic, which is supporting my backbone. That's good enough for me right now. Anyway, Karam, let's do this. This part of the show, usually we quickly talk about what is hot on Digital News Asia. And I think the first thing we need to talk about, you've been harping at this a very long time. And I think for good reasons, because we needed the answer. So DNA's pick of the week. Let's start with this one. And this is going to be Fabian Bigar picked as CEO for MyDigital.
Yep. So I think, he was one of 4 candidates. And if you go to the article, you can see the link to the previous article where we give the names of the other 3 candidates. Fabian is a senior bureaucrat within the Ministry of Health. But he's the point person for all their digital initiatives. So he's very familiar with digital. And I think the edge that he had, Nigesh, is that he had a 3-year stint with Pemandu. He was seconded to Pemandu during the previous major transformation of the country, right? The economic transformation plan. And he really distinguished himself there, yeah? And Idris Jalla, I know for a fact, thinks very highly of him. In fact, all the Pemandu C-level people think very highly of him. And I'm sure they have put in good words for him also. And in the end, the government decided to pick somebody who also has government DNA, but has proven with his Pemandu stint that he can work and galvanize and collaborate with the private sector, because you need to make both happen. But government is the first big machinery you got to move, and hopefully Fabian will have that magic touch, And I know one thing, he's got a tireless work ethic. So anybody who joins him in his right now, they call it strategic SCMO, strategic change management office. I think they're gonna probably change and give it a more sexy name. You guys got to be, and ladies got to be prepared to put in 25 hours a day, because this is an economic, agenda for the country, not a technology agenda. And you need to go beyond all out, to help the country and its people and its companies move up the competitive ladder.
Yep. And indeed, some good news. So now we know who is going to be spearheading this very, very important initiative in the country. And maybe because we've got another minute, another quick pick here is actually the announcement where Malaysia Microsoft Inc., the US 1 billion initiative, which includes Malaysian data center in the region. What's that about?
So Microsoft actually has already been picked by the government as one of 4 data center providers for the government. Because the government, as part of its MyDigital, if you go and have a look at it, I urge everyone who's interested in the future of this country, and especially around technology and economic development. I say this is not a technology plan. Go and have a look at the document. It's not that deep, it's 100 pages, and they give you a nice breakdown of what they plan to do, the national initiatives with the public sector, and then the private sector initiatives, right, which are the sectoral initiatives. So you've got all these initiatives there. One of them is that the government wants to migrate 80% of its data onto the cloud by 2023. Okay, and I think I may have the year wrong, but you can't go far from maybe 2022. Sorry, by end of next year. And Microsoft has been one of the 4 parties picked. So of course now this means quite nice business for Microsoft. And the government, of course, goes to them and, hey, we're giving you this business. What are you going to do in return for the country, right?
Right.
So this is almost like a quid pro quo. And I think for you to understand, one seasoned guy gave me a good example. Just consider data center investments as the new manufacturing investments. These are high-tech manufacturing, but with way less number of jobs.
Right.
So around there, one of the points that a lot of people are asking me, how are they able to create 19,000 jobs around this investment, around data? Because you can build a $1 billion Sing dollar data center, Nigesh, and it can be staffed by 20 or 30 high knowledge workers. You don't need even 300. So this 19,000 seems like a stretch, but Microsoft has worked with IDC to come up with some numbers. And in the party that's paying for the research, you always can drop hints to the person, hey, I like to see these numbers, on the north side of your optimism scale. And then they get to quote, hey, it's IDC saying that. I've already sent questions to Microsoft, say, can you give us a breakdown of where this 19,000 going to come from? Even the Prime Minister said that apparently there'll be 4,000 technology cloud jobs. Even that is a stretch, but we'll wait till Microsoft comes back, and maybe in the future show I'll be able to explain the breakdown a bit more, right? Because there's some cynicism now from the tech-savvy people who say, look at that number.
Yep. Okay. That'll be something interesting to look forward for in the future. Microsoft being super aggressive in this country, I have to say, because dealing with a few of the clienteles I deal with, there's a lot of Microsoft activity going on. And also to mention 2 other articles which are quick bites here. We're just going to highlight the articles. You guys go over and check it out. One of it being TPM and Magic consolidated into single technology commercialization agency.
Huge news. I'm working on a commentary. You'll read it, and next week we'll do a bit more deep dive on that.
Right, great. And the next one also being Malaysia sets up a new digital investment office. Now go over to Digital News Asia and read that. The links are here also, so you want to check that out as well. Now, I think the most important part of this show is the people we talk to whenever we bring them on. And again, I'm self-proclaiming the theme of the show being growth, because I looked at the title, looked at the people. Seems that's going to be the case. And before we bring on our first guest, to everybody who's watching the show right now, whether it's on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, remember, you are part of the show. You can ask questions as well. Please do comments. Please do comment. We'll read your comment, and if there's a question there, we'll actually try to ask our guests that question.
And if you're angry, even better, tell us why you're angry at Nigesh.
Exactly.
No problem at all.
Exactly. It may be a family-friendly show, but families also get angry, right? So go ahead. Vent it out. And let's bring on our first guest, and he's going to be talking about pitchIN takes the next step. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get Kashminder Singh, co-founder of pitchIN Equity. Hey, Cash.
Hi, hello. Hi, Karamjit. Hi, Nigesh.
Hey.
Hi. All right, let's get right into the thick of it. Karam, take it away.
Okay. So, Cash, you guys are well known in the market as helping as the platform for others to raise money for to fuel their growth, their dreams. And lo and behold, here you are, using the equity crowdfunding, but not your own platform, and that's very controversial. I want you to explain why you don't have confidence in your own platform. Of course, I'm just kidding, okay? But you explain why you raising money, and to take it up to the next level, and what is for you the next level?
Okay, thanks. Yes, of course, it's interesting to learn that pitchIN is raising money. That's of course not that big a news, but for pitchIN is raising money on lead capital, that's big news. And of course, why we are raising, I'll tell you. But essentially, definitely we need to raise money, right? And I'll tell you why in a minute. But let me get down to the fact that why we are raising on lead capital first, right? So our plan was always to raise money on our own platform. And we did engage with SC earlier on that. But during the process, it took quite a few months. I think there were some opinions at SC that some of the guidelines that are currently in the ECF guidelines don't allow us to raise money on our own platform, mainly because we already hold a huge stake in the company. Right? So SC told us we are changing the guidelines. So in effect, I'm helping all the other platforms. We are changing the guidelines, but you won't have time. You will probably have to raise. So we went over to our friends at Lead Capital, and that's where we are raising our funds. And what are we raising? We're raising between 3 to 5 million ringgit on the ECF platform. And the reason for that is actually all of you, I think, know us as an ECF platform, right? So everybody says the ECF platform. Well, with this money that we raise, we are going to become more than that. We are launching a few other business units that will see us transform into, I would say, a digital investment hub.
Whoa, digital investment hub. Okay, man. That's sexy, man. That's like your spec valuation, man. One day, yeah. Of course, we're gonna talk about spec grab later.
Yes.
Exciting, man. Wow. Okay, but so what was really exciting for me, Cash, also is the fact that you've already raised 5 million ringgit from a corporate investor, right? And that's fantastic. So huge validation of the potential or their confidence in your ability to execute, right? So what can you tell us about this 5 million? Is it from Malaysia, from Singapore? You're not moving to Singapore, right? You better tell me now. Get ready to hit the eject button, man.
I'm in love with Malaysian food, right? So Singapore may claim they have the same food. I repeat again, I'm in love with Malaysian food. So yeah, we're a Malaysian company. No worries about that.
Okay. Let me calm down. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Karam, you can send over the lock that you have. Send it over the other side so you can keep cash here.
Yes.
Cash, I got a question before Karam goes on completely, but maybe just for everybody to understand, right? When you say digital investment hub, what does that exactly mean?
Okay. Sure. Happy to answer both the questions in one go.
Yep.
So, sorry. By the way, Cash was a journalist before, and he was an entrepreneur. He was a journalist, then he became an entrepreneur, running his own technology magazine, focusing on the mobile world.
Okay. Yeah. So I have roots to the media industry. Okay. So we are going to raise money to do quite a few things. We've been running an equity crowdfunding platform for the past close to 5 years now, 4+ years, and we are the leading platform. We've done quite very well as far as equity crowdfunding is concerned. So next step for the ECF, we are actually going to build a totally new platform which will also incorporate a secondary market. Right? So we are going to be launching a secondary market. In other words, those who hold shares in the ECF companies that have been funded on pitchIN, they will be able to list their shares for sale. So it's a liquidity option coming soon for ECF investors. So that's one thing that we are doing. Then you may have also heard that the SC has actually opened up applications for this thing called IEO, which is an initial exchange offering platform, and that's also going to come soon. So pitchIN has applied for the license, right? So you need to apply for the license. The deadline to apply was in February. We have applied, and now we are waiting for the process to take place. We are hopeful of getting the license, but of course, everything is in the hands of SC. But the interesting thing about IEO is that it's very similar to ECF. So we have to do due diligence on the company. We have to help the company raise money. The only difference is instead of shares, these companies will be coming and raising digital tokens. Right? So we are looking at very similar to this thing about. I hesitate to use the word ICO, but really digital tokens that are being issued. And so there is blockchain element to these IEO offerings. Interestingly, the amount that they can raise are larger. So we're quite excited about that. So that will obviously, we have now 2 platforms offering more things. Then the plan is to go on to the next level to even ultimately look at the P2P platform and even a robo-advisory and a tax exchange. So the whole idea is that pitchIN will become a complete platform where you can come and say, I want to raise money or I want to invest, and I can tell you like 5 or 6 things. Choose what you want to do. That's our plan.
Right.
Fantastic.
Karam, don't mind me jumping in here for that.
No.
Go ahead, Cash. Go ahead.
And the last thing is that yes, we do have an institutional investor. They are taking up 5 million ringgit, Malaysian based. That's all I can say. We've signed an NDA, so I can't name it. But we've also been, negotiating with them parallel to our own planned equity crowdfunding campaign. Both came to fruition at around the same time.
No wonder.
So it's good that we have 5 million committed, and the rest is now being raised on the ECF platform.
Right. Okay, the thing I wanted to raise is that you kind of triggered me when you said that whole IEO, ICO, and then you started mentioning P2P and those kind of words. So in a past life, I was in the fintech industry as well. So
Oh, okay.
all these things about ICO, P2P, and all that was very familiar. But that was also the period of time where it got really sour because you had a lot of players coming in, but whether it is safe, whether it was giving the services it was giving, and a lot of them were actually going bust because they weren't exactly doing what they're doing. So in your case, how are you going to circumvent this negative image that it has right now, especially even though it's a change of name? You hesitated to say that it is something like what ICO was, but it's a little different. So how are you going to mitigate this
Yeah.
sort of branding challenge that you have here?
Sure. I think the move by SC to regulate. So the important point is that ICOs are not regulated, right? And that's how we ended up the situation that you have just described, right? They've never been regulated in the early days. They were like a wild west. People were just throwing money, not knowing what exactly was being built based on a white paper, and someone says white paper is good. Carry on, right? So straight away, everybody rush and put in their money. So I think SC's move to regulate is very important, right? So SC has gone on record to say that the IEOs that they will host will have a few elements. One of the elements, obviously, is going to be a kind of a situation where everything is controlled. That means we will know who are the investors, what is the company doing. There are timelines even set. So if a company were to do an IO offering and they say, give me 30 million, I want to raise, even if they raise 30 million, the money doesn't go to them. Right? There are certain timelines before the money is disbursed according to the milestones that are set. So that's one thing, right?
Hey, but that seems, Cash, that seems too onerous, because you give projections and markets are so dynamic. I hope they don't hold you to that, but they give you like a 20%, 25% up or down leeway, because if they do that, I can see most people saying, hey, this is, they are not really supportive. So you need to, I think so. I'm not an expert, but it sounds, that itself sounds like it will hold me back if I was looking at it. Unless I got absolutely no choice, I say I'll take it. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, it may happen in its early days, just like ECF 5 years ago when we first started. Everybody knew the word ECF, but no one knew how it's going to turn out. And there were a lot of people who said that it may not happen. What's going to happen if this happened and that happened and all that. But I think what finally happened was that everybody did their part on sharing market awareness and all that. And as you know, ECF has taken off very well. I think we will see the same thing as far as IEOs are concerned. The regulations are there, and then people will adapt to the regulations, and we will probably see a slow take up before it goes higher. But most importantly, I think the other point to note is that we should be very grateful that our regulators are very receptive and actually in touch with the latest how digital is growing. Development, right? So you can see as far as ECF is concerned, when we first started, 3 million first year, you can only raise 3 million. Latest announcement, now companies can raise up to 20 million. Even Berhad comes to us, right? So they listen to the market. And I think you see the same thing as far as IEO is concerned.
Right. So
I just want to pick up on that when you said because ECF started slow, and you obviously know then what was the catalyst for ECF to go, to have a much more steadier growth. Knowing that, do you expect the same thing to happen here? Eventually slow and the catalyst, but knowing the catalyst for ECF, are you going to try to not game it, but are you going to try to encourage the catalyst to appear, after year 1 instead of year 3 or whatever?
Yes, spot on. I think the catalyst, as far as ECF is concerned, is very easy to see in hindsight. The catalyst was simply good companies raising, right? And I must give a shout out to our good friends from kakitangan.com, right? Efren, if you're listening, we are forever grateful to you, right? So I think ECF really took off when good companies came and raised money, right? So over the years, people have said, okay, why should I do ECF? I said, look at the companies, look at Kaki Tangan, look at Commerce.Asia, look at Oxwide, right? And of many other companies. And we've been tracking the companies, right? So when the good companies come, they raise the level of ECF higher. And we actually are going to look for, as far as IEO is concerned, pitchIN will take the same approach. If the deal is not good, then I think it won't be hosted on pitchIN, assuming we get the license. I must say that first.
Yeah. Earlier you said it's in the hands of SC, and I was waiting for you and God, or the finance gods, right? So you didn't say that.
Yes,
Okay, but why you highlight kaki tangan though? Because I was actually in India when the kaki tangan news was going to break. I was busy in my hotel, nice buffet food spread downstairs. I didn't go down. I said, I got to get the story out. So I remember that it's like 2017 or 2018.
Very late 2016, I think.
Late lah. Okay. So, but why you highlight that? Was it because they were the first one to hit 1 million? Because I remember they were the milestone, right? Within 24 hours or 48 hours? Even there was a time period, right, which was which gave it a nice hook. 24 hours. Wow.
They raised all their money in 24 hours. I think the point I'm making is that people, why they funded the company in 24 hours, or simply because everybody looked at them and said, hey, the company is a great company, right? They can see its growth potential. And from that point on, people realize that ECF is not a place for a company that is failing to come and try to raise money to try to support it. But really, growth companies are coming onto pitchIN, right? And it's becoming the funding of choice. So I think Kaki Tangan led the way. And then we have people like Signature Market and, later on Oxwide, Commerce.Asia and all these companies. Leadernomic Digital also raised on pitchIN. Right? So we have lots of companies, and we like to think they are great companies, and we track them. We have an annual report coming up soon. We track them, and we've been tracking this one thing that says that if you have just invested just one minimum lot in every deal, how is your portfolio doing?
Okay.
I can tell you, despite the pandemic, right, the portfolio is doing well. You have a very good returns if you were to if you had invested a 94,000 today 177,000. That's what your portfolio will be worth based on the valuations of the company today.
Wow! Who needs EPF, man? Who needs EPF? Wow!
All right. Actually,
congratulations.
Yeah, I want to say that as well. Congratulations. And also, because you've been mentioning the name quite a few times and looking at time, I think it's time for us to bring our next guest. And this time around, we're going to do it a little differently, where we're going to keep Cash here together in the conversation. Because again, keeping the theme of growth, and Cash has mentioned the name, let's bring on Ganesh Kumar, founder and executive chairman of Commerce.Asia.
Hi guys.
Hi Ganesh.
Hi Ganesh.
All right.
I'm actually busy reading pitchIN's audited accounts.
There you go.
Okay, man. Ganesh, Cash, we caught you, man, because Ganesh is doing a forensic audit live on you now, man.
Yes. You see, the thing is, we want investors like Ganesh, right? So we want investors like Ganesh because it validates what we are saying, that the offer that we have put out for the investors is a good offer, right? And what we do is we do reach out to people like Ganesh, and I'm really pleased to that today he reached out and said, hey, send me your deck, send me your management accounts. Yeah, fine, I've sent him everything. Because Ganesh will lead the way to other people say, if Ganesh invests, then others will invest. Yeah.
Okay, very true. Interesting. So, look, we are now.
I didn't say I'm investing yet, but I must say I'm impressed by the numbers.
Thank you very much.
Wow. So, for all those watching, this is totally unscripted. So, we didn't know Ganesh was actually going to be studying those book numbers while on the show. But which is a bit.
I also got questions. You see all those highlights at the side? That's questions for Cash.
Yeah, that will take privately.
What?
The P arrangement after this, Cash and Ganesh can have a conversation after the show is done.
Okay, so look, the conversation now is actually about the biggest story in Southeast Asia, and it's about growth, but it's about Grab's growth, not about Ganesh. So Grab is the Malaysian-born, the Malaysian majority-based company that moved its operational headquarters to Singapore, and they've got the R&D there. They've got, of course, people around the region, but their largest headcount is in Malaysia. And the two founders are proudly a passionate Malaysian. And actually, the Grab, the basement, so-called where Grab started, was actually the back room of a car showroom. And it's actually about literally 1.5 kilometers away from my house if I just draw a straight line. so I can just walk there. But that little snippet aside, look, Grab has made huge news, right? They're going to go for a special purpose acquisition, company listing in the US on Nasdaq, close to 40 billion US dollar valuation, a market cap, not valuation, but that will be determined on the day they go live and their shares are traded. And Ganesh is here because before this, Ganesh was the first internet entrepreneur in Southeast Asia to list his company on the Nasdaq, right? In September 2014. Ganesh, did I get the month right?
No, I think it was October 2014.
Oh, October, sorry, 2014. Yeah. Did I say? I said 2014. Yeah, I missed it by 1 month. Okay. So I know because Ganesh, I flew down. Ganesh flew me down to do the reporting on that also. Very exciting. So Ganesh has got real knowledge of being a CEO of a US listed company and wanted to get his perspective and also Cash's perspective of what impact they think Grab will have in the region. And I think a lot of those listening, you've seen all the numbers out there because finally Grab has been, you have to share your financial numbers with us. And some of the numbers are eye-popping, right? Like to me, they've lost 10 billion US dollars over the last few years. Last year, they lost 2 billion. But yet revenue has increased dramatically, right? From 2018 versus 2020, in I think like 5 billion US or whatever. So there are positives and there are some probably red flags if you're a cautious investor. But Ganesh, want to get your sense for how you think they are going for being on the Nasdaq will possibly impact the ecosystem in Southeast Asia.
Look, I think Southeast Asia has been a hotbed at least over the last 2, 3, 4 years, right? The most, I think the most profitable company in the world, if I'm not mistaken, the one with the largest company with the highest, I'll say, share price increase last year was C, if I'm not mistaken, right? Which was Garena, right? So because of that, everybody has been looking at Southeast Asia, and naturally, Grab being the next company or the next biggest company was the natural one that everybody is actually looking out for, right? So I think it's quite natural. The only difference I think a bit between Garena and C is Garena has been profitable for many years, right? Of course, its Shopee business has been losing money, but its core business has been making money. Grab is still kind of losing money, right? But then Grab actually took the venture back route, right? So a lot of people need to realize that actually when you build a business, you can go the organic way, which is how actually a lot of us do. Like if I look at pitchIN, even though they're raising money today, they're actually profitable. I looked at the numbers, they're actually profitable. They actually gave a dividend last year. Right, quite impressive. I was shocked when I saw it. They gave a dividend last year, right? So I think and this is unplanned. Cash didn't even know I was going to read the account. He just sent it to me 1 hour ago, right? So I think a lot of people follow the route of cautious entrepreneur or Asian entrepreneur route of being cautious, trying to be profitable, and then cautiously growing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Because it's actually a safer route. At least you're going to survive and you won't lose money because you're very profitable, right? And then you raise money strategically, opportunistically when you actually need the money to grow, like what pitchIN is doing in terms of actually applying for an IEO license, right? So they need that. So they need that capital at that point, and so they raise money to then take them to the next level, right? But if they don't raise money, they'll still survive. In fact, they'll still make money. There's a big difference between that versus a venture-backed company where you see a lot of companies that because they raise a lot of money and then they grow, but then for some reason, like for example, last year during COVID, some of these companies dropped in growth. Guess what? This year, a lot of these companies, even though they're actually still good companies, but because they're no longer on that growth, they can't raise money, right? Because VCs have a one-step growth. They only want to invest in companies that grow. The moment you grow less, or you don't grow, or you drop, they won't fund you. And guess what? If you're in a stage of burning money, and the VCs don't fund you, you may have to close down your company, right? And I chatted the other day with a VC in my office who was trying to kind of sell a business to us. When I actually listened to it, and I looked at it and I asked him, look, the company seems to be all right. It's not burning that much money. Why do you need to close it down, right? The answer was because it's difficult for them to raise money today because they had a dip last year because of COVID, right?
Understood.
So I always say going through the venture back route, and if the VC is on the call, I hope they don't take any offense with it. Going the venture back route is like is like driving a Ferrari between JB and KL, right? So you get there faster and you'll be able to grow faster and you may do very well, but you actually stand a chance, maybe a 30-40% chance driving 200 kilometers an hour of having an accident, right? But if you drive your Toyota JBKL at 120 kilometers an hour, you'll for sure reach there. You may still get an accident if you're careless, but your chances of getting an accident is a lot less. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nice analogy.
Right? So so I think that's something that we need to think. And I think Grab really took that that route of really going venture back. And to their credit, it wasn't easy, but they actually did it very well. Right? So they took money from SoftBank, they took money from so many different institutional investors, right? And they have done really well. And I think they'll do quite well as well because they already have a lot of international institutional investors at their IPO. I didn't have that, right? So at my IPO, we didn't have many institutional investors, but Grab has. So they would already have attuned to basically managing these institutional investors. And it's definitely a success story when it comes to venture-backed companies, right? That will reach a successful exit. But for one Grab, I have to say this, there are another 200 or 300 venture-backed companies, right, that may never exit, or maybe even 500 venture-backed companies, or even more that may never exit, right? So having a giant is important, but I still would like to put a word of caution there that doesn't mean it will be it will be successful for everybody, right? But it's definitely
Okay, no. So Anthony is painting the idea that this now validates Southeast Asia as a hotspot for the world to look at, to invest in, and of course he has to talk it up. But you're saying there's no guarantee that all other startups in the region will enjoy the ripple effect of Grab going for listing, because their share price could also.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. The listing, Southeast Asia is already validated. When I started talking about C is the validation from Southeast Asia. We already have a validation of Southeast Asia, right? Southeast Asia is already there on the eyes of all these international institutional funds, right? Grab being there will further strengthen it, but it's not the first company that actually reached there. You see what I'm saying? Right? But they're definitely one of the bigger companies. I don't think when even C listed, I don't think they had a 10-20 billion market cap, I think, right? Whereas I think they maybe had a $10 billion market cap max, right? I think even if I remember correctly, it was in maybe $3 or $4 billion market cap.
Okay.
When they listed, now they're $120 billion.
Over 100 billion.
So Grab is at a $38 billion market cap, which I believe is about 10 times the size, right? So Southeast Asia is already validated. With Grab, we have another giant. And most importantly, it's a totally local Southeast Asian giant, because the founders of C is not actually Southeast Asian.
It's from China.
It's actually from China. Forrest Lee is an old friend of mine, right?
Oh, okay.
I've known him for 10 years, maybe longer, 11 years when he first started his business, when Garina was pre-revenue. Right? So I think where I was coming from is C is definitely the leader, but Grab is the largest IPO today, and the largest one by SPAC. So I think we'll definitely put the eyes on Southeast Asia. It'll be an inspiration to entrepreneurs.
Look, let's get Cashier's comments now, but I disagree. I think the jury is out on Grab whether they'll be a success. Once their shares go live on the market, we'll see where it moves. And and the valuation is not that high because they raised slightly over 10 billion. They're gonna, the day they go listing is at a market cap of just under 40 billion, which actually isn't a lot in terms of your VCs, right? If you don't know what their lock-in period is, although it's all there.
But if I can just add to that, Karam, the thing about venture-backed companies, and we all need to realize this, is VCs may not get the 10-20 times return if they're the last VC. You get what I mean? They may not get that. Two things happen when you go on the venture-back route. One is the founder actually gets diluted a lot because you go after round and round and round. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
and a lot of people think when you take VC money, VCs invest 10 million for 10%, your 90% is worth 90 million. It doesn't work that way. The terms that the VC gives you, which unfortunately entrepreneurs don't actually read, which equity crowdfunding doesn't have, I would say. So you go equity crowdfunding route, they don't, I mean, preference shares is not generally the norm, right? But VCs invest with preference shares with X times returns and whatnot, right? So because of that, you will get diluted a lot more quicker. That's why we look at Anthony Tan only as a 2.2% stake.
Yeah, tiny, man, but it's worth a lot. Yeah, he's almost a billionaire, I guess, in ringgit terms.
Yeah, you're worth a lot, but it's smaller, right? Of course, they've got the Sec 2 dual class shares, etc., to maintain his equity, which is great, right? To maintain his control, sorry. So I think the other thing I wanted to add is 10 billion to 30 billion is actually not that bad. It's 3 times returns. I don't know whether you saw, but for example, I think it was Fave the other day. They raised 40 odd million and they also exited at about 40 odd million, right? So the valuation is, I mean, the increase is not that bad. I would say it's okay, it's respectable. But it really doesn't mean when you raise so much money, you go on the public market, you'll do well or not. You will do well based on the market that you're in and whether investors see potential in the macro economy of Southeast Asia, which they do, and they believe you're a leader, right? And these two, Grab actually does well. So my bet is Grab will do well.
Okay, very good. Let's get Cash opinion now. Cash, sorry. What do you think of the possible impact they will have, and do you think that they will do well or they may not do well?
Well, I think they've done very well.
Totally.
I always like to say that it's a pity that Grab, Grab, right from the beginning, the story of Grab follows other startups. They actually took a grant from Cradle, the smallest grant possible those days, right? And I used to, and I always tell people that was just before ECF started, a few years, not too long. If only ECF was around, they might have gone to ECF before they, take all the route, but they missed that, right? And I think they've done fantastically well. They've grown big. Unlike, say, WeWork that wasn't even able to reach IPO level, right? Mainly because the numbers probably didn't match their projections. I think Grab has got much better numbers. So I think they will do well as far as the IPO is concerned. So investors are going to be smiling. But for now, the challenge comes a bit later, right? Because all this while, Grab has been burning money. I think it was mentioned as well. They've been burning money. They will have to continue burning money if they want to be a super app, right? They've got all things like digital banks that they're applying for, and then they've got competitors driving. So they will have to burn a lot more money. But now there will be shareholders who will be sitting there saying, hey, are you burning too much money? Where's your profit? And if it begins to affect share prices, we don't know, right? But I think many people, I think investors over the last few years have learned that as far as technology companies are concerned, it doesn't really matter in the beginning. I think they will back Grab. So Grab's only challenge is to ride out the next 2 years, because I suspect that's when the toughest competition is going to be. Whether Gojek arrives becomes stronger in Southeast Asia or others, and especially their digital bank system. But generally, after that, they should do well. So I'm very happy to see Grab being listed, and it's something that all Malaysians, no matter what they say, all Malaysians can be proud of.
Totally.
Karam, hold on. There's a question actually, and it falls quite nicely with what Cash was saying. So can we have Saji's comment up? So here's a question from actually one of the people who's watching the show. How will Grab keep its investors interested, given that they don't operate in the US, and even if they are mostly institutional investors?
Do you want to take this, Cash, or?
No, go ahead, Ganesh. You can try.
So I think the days where the investor needs to be in the same market as the company is actually more or less gone, because the world's a flat place, right? Investors today invest in macroeconomic leaders, in macroeconomies, right? So they invest in Southeast Asia because we've got growing young population, digital audience is growing, our economy is growing, and digital is growing in tandem with that, right? I always make this statement that internet in Southeast Asia, the internet businesses in Southeast Asia is actually the fastest growing sector of the economy within the fastest growing region of the world, right? So that alone is enough to actually attract investors, right? The second thing is because they have Uber in the US, the easy way for them to understand it is Uber for Southeast Asia, right? So they understand the Uber business model. Uber's a $130 billion business. This is similar in Southeast Asia. These are the macroeconomic growths. Enough for them to put their spreadsheets and do whatever analysis they need, and for analysts to come up with a report, and for the fund managers then to decide to buy, right?
Totally
Ash,
agree.
anything you want to add there?
No. I think I totally agree. I think even if you look at even Malaysian investors, when I see social media and all that, gone are the days that people say, "Hey, I got money and I'm going to buy what's hot on Bursa Malaysia," right? You hear people saying, "I got money in the US market. I got money here. And I got money on cryptocurrencies," right? So it's a borderless world. Whatever shines, they will put their money on. And as Ganesh points out, and I used to run Mobile World those days, and the numbers have grown even much more. Southeast Asia is the hottest growing internet market in the world, right? Most number of users, most number of almost anything, right? So the region is attractive to any savvy investor. And when they look and say, "I want to invest there," they're going to look at companies like Grab or C and all that.
Okay, interesting. I think that I think Anthony said in his prospectus that they plan to break even by 2023, right? So by end of next year. So it's actually a very aggressive time frame, right?
So 2 years. 2023 is still 2 more years to go.
Yeah. 2023. Yeah, correct. It's about 2.5 years. So
Yeah.
let's see if they can achieve that, lah. I'm not sure, but exciting times, and at least the numbers are visible now. So every quarter we can see progress, right? Ganesh, maybe one last question. What will you specifically be looking for because you're somebody who analyzes numbers also, especially quarterly revenue. What will you be looking for to tell you that they're on the right track, or at least that they're executing well? Because you're not going to be unnerved by losses, but you'll be looking at something specific. Can you share with us?
Look, I think what Grab's biggest worry, the whole thesis of the Grab business is this, right? Ride hailing is the future of transportation. This is the leader in the market, in a fast growing market. The number 2, number 3 person is quite far behind, except for Indonesia, right? Or there is no number 2 and number 3, right? So that's the high level numbers why anybody would invest, right? So of course you have quarterly growth numbers, which sometimes momentum hedge funds will look at, right? Or this growth, the news base, right? Or this quarter it do so well, growth didn't do so well, it goes down. Next quarter it do well, it goes up, right? And this you can see even Amazon has that issue, Google has that issue. Facebook, when they IPO, if you remember, from $38 went down to $15, right? But in all those cases, because they're market leaders in their own industry, in an industry that's growing, if you draw a line from an Amazon first listed in 1995 to today, guess what? You see a very steep curve, right? You get what I mean? Your line goes like that, right? So I think with that, I won't look at quarterly results. I will want to see whether they continue to be a leader in the field, which they will highly likely be, right? And I think the biggest worry is whether something else disruptive comes and kills them, right? Or whether they lose out in features to a competitor. For example, electric vehicles in the future, right? Ride hailing is actually a precursor to electric vehicles being taxis. You get what I mean? So you look at Uber, people are wondering whether Uber can be profitable until they all operate on electric vehicles, right? Because now their biggest cost structure is paying drivers.
Yes, true.
So a lot of people are saying, when Uber lose money, it's okay, as long as once they do EV, they lose that cost structure and they fund EV. You see what I'm saying? And then they're basically the biggest transportation company without drivers. Right? So I think that's kind of, so really how they can be lose out right now is if they're disrupted in terms of technology and if they don't have features as they move forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No. It's fascinating insight. I would never look at it that way. So it's very interesting how Ganesh has given us a sliver of thought of how savvy investors who are seasoned in the internet space, willing to take risks, right? look at it. That's a very interesting perspective of how if EV vehicles come and they'll dramatically change the dynamics of the game and the economics of the game for the likes of Uber and of course Grab. I don't know whether so electric vehicles will not make an impact, I think, in Southeast Asia, except for Singapore. So you need orderliness.
You never know, Kalam. You never know, right?
Hey,
Now,
Niket,
Uber-
I don't like Ganesh. I always disagreeing with me now. Okay, because
Actually, you know
remember
what?
that next time.
You know what? At this point, I'm gonna agree with Ganesh. I know disorderliness, but you know when it started picking up in the Europe and even in certain places in the States as well. Who said it was orderly in the first place? It's a lot of figuring out as we go along. And if the business market says that that's the way it's gonna go and that's the most profitable way it's gonna go,
Yeah.
you'll find a way.
Actually,
find a way.
we can do that very, very easily, right? All the government needs to do is say no more vehicles entering into Putrajaya and Cyberjaya because you've got the test pit there.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Already
indeed.
very few vehicles there, the roads, so you just have to say, hey, those areas start with electrical vehicles, and then slowly the orderliness will come elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I think just to add, I think just one point to add is that Grab is playing two games now. Right, the ride hailing is one, but I think the bank, the financial side, that they're putting a lot of money. That's also going to be key, so I think investors also be looking how they perform in that area.
All right.
Yeah, I think you're right. The financial part, the whole super app part, right? Just
Yes.
financials.
Yeah.
The second, which Uber doesn't have, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed. Okay, so we've come to 6:47. It's time to wrap things up a little bit. So thanks to both Cash and also Ganesh for joining us today in the show. You really kept the theme of growth, actually. So again, we're gonna go into another weekend, and remember, as you go into the weekend, don't forget to drop by Digital News Asia. Check out the pick of the weeks that we mentioned, and also for those of y'all who want to get on board Nicole and start your learning. For learners, there's a promo code that's going to be flashed up in a bit. Use this promo code and you'll get a discount. Just go over to nicole.app and use that promo code. So from everybody here and also our dear guests at Tech Talk Friday, thank you everybody. Happy weekend. And to all our Muslim brothers and sisters, salam berbuka puasa. So we'll see everybody real soon.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot, Ganesh.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.